come. Here I come. Hey, what's up there, shut-ins? How's it going? So we're spending a lot of time indoors. No bars open, no restaurants open. So, no cocktail hour. We can't meet our friends for cocktails. Cocktail hour has to be at home. And now you or somebody in your home has to be the bartender. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. I've got a really easy classic cocktail recipe. But before we start on that, let's be absolutely honest. If you're shut in and telecommuting, you're probably popping the cork a little bit before you push send on that last email to the office, right? So cocktail hour is starting a little early. And if you're telecommuting, you're probably working all day without pants on. So in honor of that, let's get real here and get rid of the pants. Okay, the cocktail that we're making here is known as the Old Fashioned. And it is maybe the first cocktail. I'm not absolutely sure, but it is one of the best cocktails. And it has just 3 ingredients in it. 3 ingredients, and that is bourbon, sugar, and bitters. All right? Bourbon, sugar, and bitters. 3 ingredients, which there are some extra things that people like to do and to put their own signature on it. We could talk a little bit about that, but I'm just going to make the classic cocktail. A lot of people like to mix it right into the cocktail glass, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to use the cocktail mixing glass, and I'll explain why. It has to do with putting some ice in and stirring a little bit later on. But we start with the sugar. And a lot of times, if somebody's making a presentation of doing the classic old-fashioned, they're using a sugar cube, and then they're putting the bitters right on top of it. And it's really a kind of a cool thing to do if people are watching you make the cocktail. But about 3/4 of a regular serving spoon of sugar is probably enough, and it works just fine. You can adjust to taste as you go along. I like to do about 3 or 4 shots of Angostura bitters. All right, Angostura bitters. I've seen a great recipe that uses a mixture of white sugar and brown sugar and 2 shots each of Angostura and orange bitters, and then they put in some garnish from lemon and orange. A really good old-fashioned, but once again, we're being very basic here. So we go to the bourbon. Now, with the bourbon, use the good stuff here, or use what you like, I guess is a more important way to say it. Use what you like. A lot of times I'll use a lesser bourbon when I'm going to mix a cocktail because you're losing the complexity of the bourbon anyway. But this, with just the 3 ingredients, you're getting mostly the bourbon. So a good bourbon is really an appropriate thing to do here. I've got Baker's, which is an upper middle bourbon, certainly not very top shelf, but second shelf down. It's 107 proof. And you want to use 3 to 4 ounces of bourbon. So there's 1.5 ounces. There's 1.5 ounces. And I've only got a little bit left in this bottle, so I'm just going to dump the rest of it in there. All right. So we're using a good bourbon. And now what we're going to do is we're going to mix. And you want to stir that up until it's really, really well dissolved. You don't have to get all the granules out, but really stir it up well. And while I'm doing this, I'll tell you this. People will use a muddler, and if you've got a muddler, it's great. These things are absolutely awesome. So you put some orange in there and maybe a maraschino cherry and muddle it down. If you're going to do that, don't do it in the cocktail glass. Absolutely do it in the mixing glass and then strain it in, because you want a clean presentation on your old-fashioned. So we're mixing down, and it looks pretty good. We've got most of the sugar dissolved in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take ice and put it in here. And a lot of people want the straight up bourbon, but this is 107 proof. There's a little bit of burn to it. And actually putting the ice cubes in and letting some of that water that ensues in there helps open up the bourbon a little bit. How many times you stir it kind of dictates what kind of dilution you're going for. And I like, 15 to 25 quick stirs. You want to go 30 or 40. If you want a weaker drink, go ahead and do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So you get that stirred up pretty good. And then you grab your cocktail glass. And what you're going to do is, if you've got a strainer, go ahead. I've got one, but I can just use the back of the spoon with the little spout on this cocktail glass. Oops, I almost forgot. You got to strain this over fresh ice, okay? So I make big ice cubes. I've got one in here. I've got one left. You thought I was kidding about not wearing pants, weren't you? So one ice cube left, and since I'm the one drinking it, I can use my fingers to put it in here. When you put the ice cube in, absolutely place it in there. Don't drop it in, because if you crack or chip the ice cube, it's going to break down the integrity of the cube and it's going to melt faster. And you've already diluted your drink. All right. So now I'm going to strain that right over the top. And even with that, it's already a good classic looking cocktail. Just about the right size. But I'm going to garnish it with an orange twist, which is the classic way to do an old fashioned. Like I said earlier, you can do a lemon twist as well, or one or both of them. If you don't have one of these tools, just cut off a chunk of the orange peel. You want to get as much of that white stuff off the back as you can, because you want to see mostly orange, and that helps get some of the essential oils. I don't know if they're essential, but get the oils from the orange into the drink, and then it makes for a great smell too. And then if you want, if it's your drink, just go ahead and rub that around the rim a little bit. Drop that in, and then the topper, don't have to do this, doesn't need it, but I think it's nice. One maraschino cherry, and I like to use the Luxardo cherry. That is far and away the Cadillac of maraschino cherries. You get one of those, drop it in, and if you happen to get a little bit of that maraschino juice in there, that's fine. Adds to the color of the drink, and we'll sweeten it up just a little bit. So I've got the Luxardo in there, and that is a really good looking drink right now. Yeah, to all you shut-ins, if you like this one, next time maybe I'll do the Manhattan, which is another classic cocktail. As the ice melts in here, sometimes it gets even better and better. But that's your classic old-fashioned right there. Bottoms up, everybody, and I'm going to put my pants back on.